All right, welcome to the Habit-Based Lifestyle and Business podcast. Today, we got a very special guest, Ross Crane, who is the owner of Inner Grove Chiropractic. Also, does a 8 weeks to wellness program. Ross, I want to thank you for joining, man.
You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewell. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jesse.
Can you give us, like a 1 or 2 minute, you know, introduction just on like what got you started in chiropractic and, kind of like what got you to where you are today?
Yeah, I've been going to chiropractic since I was a little kid. I was blessed to have parents, especially my mom, start bringing me, ear infections as a kid. So that's kind of all I knew and what we grew up with. They were our primary care. Um, Committed in high school. I knew that's what I wanted to do. So kind of went that way with sports. I mean, I was in there all the time growing up. So going into undergrad, I knew that's what I was going to do. I worked for a husband and wife clinic back in undergrad, which was great. So you just get an experience with that. Met my wife in chiropractic school, so she practices here too as well. And then I've been lucky to have some pretty great mentors throughout the years. Justin and I was a big one for me. And that's how kind of got the model that we have here and got into 8 weeks to wellness, because when I met him, he was just starting to get in that with Dr. Dane Donahue, who runs that. And then, yeah, it's been a fun 12-year journey now. 10 years on our own in the clinic and 7 years of running 8 weeks to wellness. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. So what made you, was there an event or something that happened specifically that made you want to be a chiropractor, or what was that?
Yeah. So, I always wanted to be in healthcare, I thought. And, chiropractic, I was very familiar with it growing up. But it was my junior year of high school. I heard my wrestling was my main sport, and I hurt my shoulder. Could still practice, but it was weak and it was painful. And I went to the doc, and he did just a couple muscle tests on me, and it just dropped. I had no strength in my right arm. My left one is like rock solid. What the heck is going on? And he adjusted me, and that was pretty much it. And then we retested, and it was just like, boom, rock solid. And I was good to go. I'm like, oh, okay, if I can do that for people, like, this is exactly what I'm going to do. And then I knew from there, like, that's what I'm doing.
That's awesome, man. So where did you go to school?
Northwestern College Chiropractic in the Twin Cities in Minnesota.
Okay.
Mhm.
Awesome. So, what would you say? Obviously, you've been a chiropractor for what, 12 years? Or you've had your own
Yes,
business for
2012.
12
Yep.
years. So
Mhm.
what has been, maybe the most difficult thing coming out of chiropractic school? You're a new chiropractor 12 years ago, probably feels like forever.
Yeah.
But like, what would you say was the most difficult thing once you came out of school to be a chiropractor?
Yeah, I think schools nowadays, they do a good job of preparing the doctor side with things and getting through your exams and stuff. But the running your own business is a piece that you really don't have. And yes, we have business classes, but they don't really give you the real world. And it's really hard to train for that until you're actually in the business and running it and actually in that model. So I think that was a big piece. And that's where I was lucky enough to be in a Big Fish program, to where I went and worked for Dr. Justin in this case for a year and a half. He teaches me everything he knows. You learn how to run a business, how to market, how to run staff meetings, all that fun stuff. And then we go in and buy a clinic from there. So having that mentor makes, and not just in business but in life. I mean, just the learning curve is so much easier, and why reinvent the wheel when there's things out there like that. So that
Yeah,
helped
for
me a
sure.
ton.
So basically you hiring a mentor or working with a mentor for your first year and a half, 2 years was really
Yeah,
the thing that kind of set you up for success
100%.
from a business standpoint. One thing I asked a few weeks ago on my page, and I just want to get your take on it, was like,
Yeah,
hey, should chiropractors offer, weight loss, kind of like nutrition help in
yeah.
their practice? Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we do, and we love it. the model that we run, it's not easy from a business side. I mean, you got to be all in. It's a lot of work. Have 3 times the amount of employees that most chiros do. So I think you have to be bought in. But if you live that lifestyle, how can you not give that to other people? Because once you know, I mean, and once you start to practice that way, there's no going back. So I think if the docs actually practice what they preach, 100%, I think they should have it in there. Because when you look at pain, if someone, is 300 pounds, I mean, I can adjust their back and help them in the short term, but that 300 pounds is still constantly weighing on that back and it's going to come back. So the more change on that side of things, yeah, I mean, it's going to make the patient so much more healthy.
Yeah. I mean, I got so kind of, obviously I was in the fitness industry, but I kind of, I think the same way as you is like, hey man, like if you're, 40, 50, 60 pounds overweight and you keep getting in and getting adjusted, like your adjustment only helps so much, so like we really need to talk about like, what is the root cause of your issues? And
Yeah.
if it's weight, then if you don't eliminate that or fix it, like you're going to continue to have the same issues and you can adjust them and they might feel better, but like we're not really addressing, the elephant in the room. But I
100%.
did notice, some of the chiropractors were like, no, they shouldn't do it. Most of them were overweight. Most of them didn't look like they worked out. And the
Yeah.
ones that said, yeah, we should do that were usually the ones that kind of practice what they preached.
Yeah.
Um, but like, here's what I think, man. The last 3 years, you know, people started to lose trust with traditional doctors.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for alternative people like yourself who are going to be honest, but they also have a holistic approach to what's going on. And they're not, and like, so people are looking to guys like you or other chiropractors for the answer versus, maybe like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it wasn't as common as it is today. But like, can you touch a little bit on that, the difference of how a client walks in today versus maybe 5 or 10 years ago?
Yeah. I mean, I think as much as COVID had a lot of its downfalls, it did open a lot of people's eyes that were, let's say, completely on the medical side. Alternative stuff is terrible. It started to level the playing field a little bit, which I think is great. People are starting to question the doctor and question us. I mean, if you don't believe or you have a question, I mean, you have to ask us. Like, don't take my word, as the biblical truth. I mean, ask questions, and people are starting to do that, which is a lot of fun to see. And they don't want to be on all these medications, and they want to start taking control of their health and feel like they have control about something, especially in the chaotic world we had in 2020 and 2021, where they feel like they had no control and the government was controlling everything. People want to be in charge of their own health, and it takes work to do that, and it's hard to do that. So, and it's hard to change everything. And that's what the beautiful thing I think that we have is, it's a comprehensive group to where, we have so many people looking over you and helping you, because it's hard. I mean, I live it every day. You live it every day. It's still hard. I mean, there's donuts and fast food on every corner. It's
Yeah.
so easy to get off track.
Yeah. So talk to me about your 8 weeks of wellness program and kind of like, say somebody's listening, they've never heard of it, they don't know what it is, but like I'm a patient, like what would you tell me 8 weeks to wellness is?
Yeah. So basically, we're going to teach you what you're supposed to do, hold you accountable to do it, and then you continue to do it for forever and ever. Whether you are here in the clinic for 8 weeks and then move to Texas, like nothing changes. You have all the material, you have all the knowledge to be able to do that. So basically, day one, you come in and we get a ton of different metrics from a ton of different body compositions, visceral fat, how much muscle do you have, posture pictures. We take x-rays if they're needed. We do lab work. And then obviously going through past medical history for the patient. What are your current goals? What can you do? What can't you do? So there's a lot that goes into that day one. And then we sit down and talk about different recommendations. And it might be the full program. It might be bits and pieces. It just depends. So it's very individualized, but it's chiropractic is the foundation. So this is where, kind of going back to the chiropractic and weight loss, or just chiropractic, you have the straights and the mixers, and chiropractic absolutely is the foundation. Most people who are 40, 50 plus pounds overweight, if that's the main thing that they're looking to lose, is they have back pain. And they start to work out. I mean, you're in the fitness industry, and then their back hurts, and then they're like, yeah, this workout thing isn't for me.
Right.
So we got to make sure their body can handle that. But then two, the functional fitness, we have a full fitness center. So you're working with our trainer 3 days a week, and he knows everything that's going on with you. So we make sure we're not getting hurt, but you get your butt kicked in a good way, which is great. Posture, strength, mobility, and cardio. Nutrition is a huge piece of the puzzle. There's a big detox on the front end. And then we slowly start to bring stuff back in. And how do we keep those blood sugar balanced? So a big goal for patients is getting off medications, changing their blood panels. And this has a big to do. The nutrition piece is awesome. And supplements where we need to. Massage or physical therapy. So depending on the patient, if they have a bad shoulder, they're getting on our physical therapy schedule and they're kicking butt. And so they're able to work out and get through these things. Massage different scar tissue, the muscle tone and tension that comes with starting to work out and the sedentary lifestyles that most people are living. And then mindfulness, we're not psychologists by any means, but it's holding you accountable to make sure you're getting that meditation and shutting your brain off. So it's a lot, but you have a full team, teaching you, holding you accountable to do it, which is a lot of fun.
It's, what would you say kind of an average result you see over, the 8 weeks is?
Yeah, so for men, they on the weight side, they always lose a little bit more than the females. They're usually right around that 20-pound range in 8 weeks. Women range from 12 to 15 pounds on average, but the piece of the puzzle with that is actually looking under the hood and not just looking at the scale. So they're losing actually 12 to 15 pounds of fat on their body, not 8 pounds of fat and 5 pounds of muscle, because muscle
Right.
is one of it's so important. That's a whole nother podcast, but to make sure we're maintaining or even growing that muscle mass, that body comp is changing. I just had a patient, she got her blood work in late. I had a appointment with her yesterday. She's always at high LDL cholesterol and total cholesterol. And she's done tons of things over the years. And she was always sitting at like 260 for her overall cholesterol. And she's only 5 weeks in. And she's down in the low 230s. And she was ecstatic. Is it still high? Yeah. So we got work to do. Yeah. But blood work can make huge changes in small amounts of time where patients are off medications, lowering their metformin for diabetes. But mobility is a huge one, and energy. I mean, over and over, those are very consistent. They can move better, they can get up and down off the floor better. If they are CrossFitters outside of here, they can do overhead squats better, whatever it is. And just the energy of waking up in the morning and not needing 2 pots of coffee to get through the day, which is, so beneficial.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So, let's fast forward a little bit to, obviously you kind of come into habit-based lifestyle program.
Yeah.
What was kind of the main reason why you started working with us, kind of on the outside looking in at first?
Yeah, I've been looking for a while of how do I get kind of like a pre-qualified 8 weeks to wellness patient. I know we were just talking about before we got on here. Our name is Invergrove Chiropractic. So when someone's calling, they're thinking chiropractic, but we just have so much more to offer here. So how do we get that out to the public? We've been here for a while, and yeah, we're busy in our clinic in 8 weeks to wellness, but it just wasn't enough on the organic side of things. So it was, how do we do that? And then you just happen to come across my feed kind of over and over again. And then some people I know and respected in the chiropractic industry, I started to find out that we're working with you because things were matching up. And that was kind of that extra push for me. Like, okay, maybe something like this is for me. Because I didn't use my Facebook. I used it a long time ago, but it just sat there. And
Right.
I would have never thought that, oh yeah, that would be, the thing that's going to get me new patients for 8 weeks to wellness. And then obviously we met, and then kind of the rest is history there. So
Yeah, man. So what is like, maybe, what has been like maybe the top 2 or 3 things you've learned, marketing this way versus maybe other methods that you've tried, for this program, or kind of even just finding your ideal client?
yeah, it's much more personable. You kind of know the person a little bit a lot of times, even though you don't know them if they've never been into the clinic before. But they're searching out you. I'm not searching out them. Obviously, there's a plan on how this works to, get yourself out there and get people interested in your post. But I'm not just going to be able to message some random person that I meet or that I'm friends with. And usually, at least how I've been able to do it, haven't turned them into a patient, is they're seeing the stuff that we're just doing in the office, just showing them the results. And they're like, yeah, I want that. How do I do that? What's going on? And it's just makes things so much easier.
So when a client comes in that's kind of seen your content, seen your posts, sees the results you're getting, like how much easier is that for you to convert versus maybe like them not knowing any of that and then they just walk in off the street?
Yeah, I mean, especially on the chiropractic side, when someone comes in, say they come in as a new patient and they have low back pain, but they're 50 pounds overweight, they sit at a desk, they have zero mobility, and they are very inflamed. There's an educational process that has to happen in a short amount of time to let them know, like, yes, you're low back pain, and yes, we need to address the low back, but if you don't address these other things, like lifestyle choices, it's going to be hard to change those, and it's a harder thing for patients to understand if they had no idea and they weren't thinking that at all before coming into the chiropractor, to where they're already set up where they might not even have pain yet, but they have health goals for whatever reason. And that's specifically what they're looking for. So it skips an educational step and a mindset and a hurdle for these patients of, you got another green light, if you're not getting red light, like, no, workout's not for me. Okay, we're just going to work on adjusting for this patient. We're not even going to talk wellness. So it just makes, the gate is wider, which is nice.
Yeah, that's good, man. So what is kind of what's the result you've gotten, man? I know we chatted a little bit before we jumped on, but just
Mm-hmm.
in the last few weeks, what's been the biggest result you've gotten working with us?
Yeah, I mean, I think momentum cures a lot of things in business, and the momentum the last few months, just me doing what I'm supposed to do, has really picked up. And the last 2 weeks is kind of proof of it. I think we've brought in over $20,000 to the business for that. But for me, more importantly, I mean, saving the lives of how many people that would have never been in here, and known that this existed. And the life change that's just happened in the last few weeks is amazing, and not just for that person, but their family and their friends, and it's a lot of fun. It's a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
fun.
awesome, man. So, a lot of chiropractors that I talk to are doing one of two things. Either they're, doing Facebook ads, maybe more traditional marketing. They
Mm-hmm.
might just be relying on referrals, but very few are using this method. But I think part of it's because it's gotten very competitive. So everybody kind of does what everybody else is doing. Like, what is, if someone's listening to this, it's a chiropractor, man, what is the difference between this and maybe more of those traditional ways of marketing in terms of like quality of client, quality of lead, things like that?
Yeah, and we still do some of that. So I think I can speak to that pretty good. But the quality of a patient is different when they come off of this type of program. I mean, they're seeking you out somewhat, to where they're actually, yeah, I need to be in here. I want to know what's going on. To where the show rate and then the follow through rate of them, committing to a big thing is much higher than someone who sees an ad because it's cheap. It's like, oh, a $20, exam and massage. I'm going to come in, which is good. I mean, we've been successful with that stuff, but it's different. It's not as consistent. Some months I feel like, we do good on those types of things. And others, it's like, how much money did we just pay? And we didn't get anyone that came in, and they're more of a hassle because they're canceling and they're taking up space. So it's absolutely different. The quality of the leads are way, way better.
Awesome, man. So what has been maybe an unexpected result you've gotten in the program that you maybe weren't expecting prior to coming in, but like now you're like, wow, man, this is kind of cool. I never recognized this before.
Yeah, I think two things that come to mind is one, I mean, we truly believe in our program and what it does, and the change in the lives, and being able to reach people that would have never made it into here, or maybe not for 10 years down the road, just happen to stumble upon us because they have neck pain or whatever, is awesome. But I think the sense of community now, um, being online, I was never online before, never in front of camera. We did ads through our other things. So we'd shoot videos, but being out there and putting yourself out there, you have to know your stuff and you have to actually be authentic and let you shine through. And that's starting to come out, and I'm getting better at that. And just today, for example, last week, my family and I, we talked about Easter's coming up, obviously in a few days, inviting people to come to Easter with us. And so we sat down, we did a Facebook Live video, and I can't tell you how many people this week are like, thank you for that. And they might have a church, but just seeing, especially men when it comes to Christ and being open about their faith, letting you shine through, and it helps in the community. And we need more people like that. So if you're doing good things, I mean, it's going to help change people's lives, even if they don't even come into your clinic and see you. So it's been a lot of fun seeing that kind of stuff happen.
Yeah, man. I think, one of the things I kind of think about is being in a community of other people doing the same thing as you, maybe just in a different world or just in a different area. Kind of, it's like, well, they're all doing it. So like, I can kind of drop my story on why I can't do it. Right. And
Yeah.
so it's like, I think one of the biggest things people struggle with is putting themselves out there online.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they see everybody else doing it, then it kind of gives them the confidence to do it themselves. And then
Yeah.
obviously to talk about, I think what's cool, man, is you're talking about everything. You're not just talking about business, right? It's
Yeah.
like you're talking about your family, you're talking about your faith, you're talking about your fitness, you're talking about everything. And I think there's a lot to be said about people are attracted to you probably more what you do outside of your clinic than necessarily what you do inside of your clinic. And the more that you put that out there, the more attractive you become to those people. And I think that's, what's really cool is this allows you to do that, where ads, SEO, all these other things, they don't really allow you to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had, a seminar we were at in December. One of the Perfect Patients is a website, one of the big ones for chiropractors. And one of the main guys was there kind of doing their pitch. And he's a great guy, huge chiropractic advocate. But they were talking about like your website, the content doesn't really matter. It's you showing through your website so they know who you are as a person. And it's hard to do on a website. Like,
Yeah.
basically it's what you have made, and what we are doing through this is what they all want. It's just, you can't do that if you're not, like, social media is just the best way to do that. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And, 20 years ago, everybody went and looked at websites, right? Nowadays, if you hear about a business, you hear about a person, you go, you go check them on social media. But the cool
Yep.
thing is they're getting live updates, daily, weekly,
Yep.
because you're putting content out there. So like, this is an opportunity for somebody to kind of be known in a different way, but it's not like you're over there like, hey, come and join my chiropractic business.
Right.
It's a much more natural approach to it. Um, Maybe I'm going to leave you with one last question. So let's
Yeah.
say a chiropractor's on the fence. Maybe they're doing 8 weeks to wellness. Maybe they're doing some other wellness model. Like, what would you tell that person about joining the HBL program that was kind of on the fence?
Yeah. I think if you want to reach more people and reach people that you probably wouldn't reach if you don't do something like this, I mean, you just got to jump all in. Um, but if you don't want to put in the work, just like a patient on the wellness side of things, like, I might want them to get rid of their metabolic disease, to get off their medications, whatever it might be. But if they don't want it, like, it's not going to happen. So if it's something you're thinking about and you're just more of afraid of putting yourself out there, like, jump in, you'll get good at it. I wasn't good at it, still not great at it. We're working through it. But yeah, it's definitely worth it on the back end.
Yeah, you're getting better every day, man.
One
So,
step at
well,
a
hey,
time.
thanks so much for joining us today. How can people find out about you? You're in Minnesota, right? So
Yep.
how can people find out about you? If we got some listeners in Minnesota, they're like, hey man, I want to do this 8 weeks to wellness program.
Yeah, I mean, biggest thing, just type in my name, Ross Crane, on Facebook. I have an open profile. Message me from there. That's usually a pretty easy one, and you can check out what we've been doing, and see a lot of patient testimonials. So it's not coming from me; it's coming from them. Otherwise, InvergroveChiropractic.com. You just call the office at 651-451-1012 if you want, or text there, whatever you need. But Facebook's always a quick and easy one.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining today. If you guys want to be part of our habit-based lifestyle community, you can simply just go into the show notes, and we have a free Facebook group in there. If you want to learn more about how we help chiropractors, health professionals, and coaches increase their revenue by an extra 10 to 30K a month, you can simply reach out to me through email, jesse@habitbasedlifestyle.com. And until next episode, have a great day.
You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewell. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.